We have just launched Artymate version 1.2 with some great improvements. I'm going to take you through them now so that you know what to do and how it's changed from the previous versions. Okay, on screen we have an image that can be manipulated and Artymated, and here is the new version of Artymate that you will find a few little changes in there. So we're going to go through these and I will take you through how to use it. One of the things you'll notice if you have come from a much earlier version of Artymate is that there are now 3 panels. So a lot of the videos that you'll find back in our catalogue on how to use it are focusing on 2 panels, and some of the names have changed a little bit. So layer free control is if you've got a layer that you've pulled in and you want to control that separately. Background free control is if you want to control the background, say you've got a sky there. Directional control will allow you to create an area to basically have the opportunity to move clouds back and forth. So it's the same, but just with a few different names if you're looking for it. You'll find details on how to use that section in the video start to finish tutorial. So have a look at that. We're going to go over to this section here, first of all, which is the video section. And you've got a new slider here called speed. So you can now adjust the speed of a video overlay that you place in there, and I'll show you how to do that. So the first thing that you want to do when you open up Artymate and you open up your image is to optimize. Optimize is down here. We click that. What that does is it creates a duplicate file that is in the size that you need it to be to really work well with Artymate. So it's not using up a lot of processing power. So the first thing that we're going to do is find a video overlay that we'd like to use. And we might start with the smoke and fire. Now, I have added all of the add-on packs here. So these are all the ones that we currently have as of January 2019. Now, I am going to choose one that works really well as a steam. And now it is placed. Now with some of these overlays, you'll notice they fade in, so they don't start straight away. So what you need to do is move your timeline across to the point where you can see the overlay. So we've got the smoke there, we can drag it, and as we drag it up here, you can see the smoke. So we want that steamy smoke to rise up from the coffee cup. So as we move this along the timeline, you can see that that's happening. Now, one of the things that you'll notice too is if you press play, and this is the case with earlier versions, it may not play at 25 frames per second. Down here, it says it is playing. I'm working on a really fast computer. So I've only got one layer there, it's playing at 25 frames per second. But as we add more to our Artymate file, it may not play in real time. Now that won't affect your final export, so don't worry about that. It's just really important to note that if you're seeing that this is red down here and it's playing at say 12 frames per second, that's showing you at half the speed. It will be double the speed when you export it out. So just keep that in mind when you're working. So now we've put the smoke in there. What happens if we want to slow it down or speed it up? Well, it's very easy now. We'll stop playing. Just take this slider and let's make it really fast, just for the sake of showing you how that works. Now when we play this, it's going at 295%, so it's going fast. Now that might not be what you would want for smoke, it's up to you, but you will notice too that it will stop earlier in your file. So obviously when you're speeding up the overlay, it doesn't go for the full 30 seconds. You could copy that and paste it in and sort of move it around your timeline there. So if you sort of wanted to overlay it and have it happening multiple times, you can do that. Let's say you wanted to go slower. Let's take that speed percentage and drag it down below 100%. Let's drag it down to 30%. Now what happens is it completely slows down. Now that we've added a video and you've seen how speed works, let's just take that back to 100%. Now another change that you've noticed is there is an opportunity now to put exactly the number in that you want. So before, sometimes when you're using a graphics tablet particularly, it can be hard to get that slider to go exactly where you want. So what you can do is you can type in there 100%, and there you'll go straight back to 100%, so it's perfect. Now you've got an intensity slider. So again, that gives you the opportunity to make it really bright or maybe a little more subtle. So you can use that slider as you need to. You've also got tint and saturation. But colorize, if you click on that, is really good for those white overlays. So whereas tint, it's hard to tint white. So it'll be very subtle, although you could turn the saturation up. You probably get a little bit more color out of it. But when you've got white, what you should do is click on this button here, colorize it, and then you can change it to whatever color you want, to any saturation that you want as well. If you're looking for the Christmas pack, by the way, or any of our specialized packs, you'll find them in the extras section. If we go over to this middle star panel, this is where you find falling, floating, flying, flapping, flickering. What we can do here, and a lot of people haven't really used this much, but it is so powerful, we can animate the elements in our image. Now what you can do is you can use a flat image and you can animate those elements, but you can also use layers that you already have if you're a composite artist. So if you already have layers in there of additional elements, you can animate those. Let's start with how this works if it's just a flat image. We want some of these little bubbles to float around the screen. So we will go to floating and we click on create layer. Then it gives us the option of being able to select the bits that we want to float around the screen. So I might choose maybe 3 of these to start with. And then I will click on 1. Now you can also change the velocity, and you do this before you click, although you can do it afterwards if you want it to sort of go faster or slower. So I'm going to click on 1. So now if I press play, you can see those ones that I selected are floating together. Now you can see they are moving with each other, which is why with this you may want to separate them and do multiple layers so each of the floating elements is floating in a different way. So I'll do that again and I'll click back on the background layer. So you always want to start with that background layer for this. I'll click create layer again and I will choose some different ones. So we'll choose this one here and this one here and this one here, some of these foreground ones. So now we'll have 2 different floating options and I can click 2. Now the way that you get variety is that you can change the velocity of each time you do it. So if you're clicking 1 again, you might change the velocity. You can also change the direction. So each direction will create a different movement. So with floating, it will move in a different rotation. So now we've got them floating in different ways. So the first group is floating in a different motion to the second group. Now, one of the things you may have noticed with the smoke here is that it's probably starting a little bit too low. So what we can do is we can go back to the video panel, back to smoke and fire, and even without needing to select the right layer, Artymate is smart and it will know. So you can create a mask and it creates a mask on the smoke layer. You don't even have to worry. So if you've got lots of layers there, Artymate will figure it out for you. And then you can just paint the area you don't want the smoke to appear. Maybe just have that soft blend so it's just gradually coming up through. So now you can hide the mask, press play, and there you go. So I'm going to finish this off now and then play the final product with all of the floating elements happening in different speeds and different rotations. When you have finished your automation, all you need to do is click on export. If you have not saved your automation, you do need to save it first and you will get an alert. So once you're saved, click on export If you want to load it on Instagram or Facebook, this is the standard that would work well. Medium at the full size, 2000 pixels on the longest edge, but you can play with the different sizes for your use. Press export. When it's finished exporting, which may take a little while depending on how much you've put in it, you will find that it will take you to the final file. So that is an overview of version 1.2. We hope you enjoy all the new changes and we look forward to seeing your Artymations. Don't forget, when you put them up on Instagram or Facebook, tag with Artymate and you'll have the chance of being featured on our feeds.